Welcome to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chas. Here you'll find our family as we strive to live a life that pleases the Lord. We do our best to make the most out of what we've been given, so we'd like to invite you to come along and join us on our journey.
Hey y'all, I'm Chas. Welcome to my cottage garden today. Normally on this platform you may see me in my kitchen and we sit across from one another and talk about how to do this or that. Today what I thought I would do with you is just show you a little bit of my cottage garden, what I've done to prepare it, what's blooming right now, and just give you a little tour. I wanted to go ahead and share with you that I am by no means a professional gardener. I plant what I want and what I like, and I've watched many YouTubes, I've read many books about how to plant things, and none works for me because I like too many different things. So instead of following any guideline, I just planted what I wanted, and I think because of that it's very me, and it's become a beautiful space. Now we are here on May 1st, so some things are blooming well, some things are not blooming at all yet. So hopefully I'll be able to take you along a little later and show you more when they come into view. But I'll just talk to you a little bit about my garden first thing. My grandmothers both were fabulous gardeners. They loved to grow things. I would often find them starting a new plant or saving seed, or had rooted cuttings in their windowsill. It was very familiar for me to grow up with that. And I remember when y'all may not know this, but I called my grandmothers. I had my Nanny Red and I had my Nanny Black. And my Nanny Red was my mother's mother. My Nanny Black was my dad's mom. And the only reason they got those names is because I had two nannies. I was the only grandchild at the time, and I wanted to differentiate them. Nanny Red had red hair, Nanny Black had black hair. And that's what they took, and that's what stuck. And I know I can understand that now as a grandmother, because I planned on being called Grandmama, because my husband is Granddad. So I wanted Grandmama and Granddad. Well, when Denver started talking, he called me Mamaw, and his mama told him to call me Mamaw Chassie. And I'm thrilled with Mamaw Chassie as much as I would be with Grandmama. So, no kitty. So I understand that, how a kid can make or break the name. And that's what's happened with me, and that's what happened with my grandmothers. So my Nanny Red loved to plant flowers in her unusual gardens. And she actually had a boat in her yard that she turned into a goldfish pond. And she had it enclosed and had plants growing all around it. And those goldfish got so big, and there was enormous frogs in there, but it was something that all of us kids remember going over there and seeing that boat with all those plants. I remember going over there and picking grapes off her grapevines. Her blackberry bushes were but they were all wild and out in the field. And she just kept them, and they were loaded, and they were so good. It's just very fond memories of being there. Now my Nanny Black, she planted a lot too. She loved petunias, and she grew a lot of them. You can see I have a little tower there of petunias in the back. She grew a lot of them. She kept seed. She was very frugal. I remember oftentimes going in her house, and there would be paper plates with tomato seeds on a paper towel, drying out to save those seeds for the next year. After she had, you got to let them sit in water to break off the outer, shell thing, and then once they do, then you rub that off and you dry them. And she would keep those on paper towels and paper plates, and always had cuttings of something in the windows. And she would tell me if she ever gave me a cutting or a plant that I could not tell her thank you, because it means it wouldn't grow. She was quirky in that way. She told me never tell me thank you, and I always felt bad because, you know, you're supposed to say thank you. That's the way I was taught. But I just love the memories that the garden brings back to me of my grandmothers. My mother grows things. My mother's sisters grow things. I actually have a little peony section in my garden from one of my aunts. I have a cutting that's coming from another aunt. My sister gave me some bleeding heart starts, and my mom's supposed to give me some canna lilies later on this week. So gardening is just a labor of love for me, even though I will admit that I'm not great at it. It has such fondness for me to those I love, and I think that it can, you know, for all of us, because there's so much that we can share with one another in the garden. Just a few miles down the road, there's a little lady that has, she always separates her perennials and puts them out at the side of the road to sell. And I love stopping by her place and picking up things that I may not have or I need more of. So even though I don't know her personally, I love the fact that I'm getting it from someone local. And I get a lot of my things also from local, my little local farmer's market and the feed store and places like that. So I have things that are from box stores, but my favorite things are from people that I know or people that I, patron on a regular basis.
When we began my cottage garden, we decided on the space, and then we used the tractor and tilled the area up. Now I know no-till is a preferable way, but this area was thick and the soil was poor, and so what I wanted to do was to encourage growth. I wanted the earthworms to come back. I wanted things to be lush and beautiful in this area. So we did till it. Then we began to add cardboard, and we wet that down, and then we started adding our plants. And we mulched heavily. And yes, it is still a bit sparse compared to what I want one day, but we're in a stepping stone period. And all of these herbs, these plants, they will all come back, and they will just multiply each year. And before long, we'll have this thick, lush, beautiful space that will be full of pollinators, and I just can't wait.
So I want y'all to look. This is the cottage garden has been in maybe about 3 years, and I want you to look at the soil. This is not what our soil normally looks like, but after all this cardboard and mulch and all this that's been on here for these past few years, how it's changed the look of our soil. So it is possible to make soil better. Now in the back where the garden is, the soil is just too shallow and it's very rocky, and there's not really a great way of making the soil better back there. But up here, I do have hopes for continuing to improve. So in my cottage garden, I mainly wanted to have it I wanted useful things in here. So I have a lot of herbs, whether it be culinary herbs or medicinal herbs. I have oodles of each. Probably more culinary than I have medicinal, but that's growing too. I actually just bought wormwood and horehound and some chamomile, and I think that's all that I've gotten recently. Those were from a local Mennonite store that I picked up from. But I also, not only do I have the herbs, but I also have things like, I have a dahlia, I have some nasturtiums, I have just flowers. Like I said, I have pansies, petunias, not peonies, pansies, petunias. I have petunias here also. And then behind me I have my hydrangea bush, and I have another small hydrangea here, and then some roses that I like to grow. There's my rhododendron as well. And but I just thought I would just take you a little tour and let you see my roses that I'm hoping to go up and over my trellis here. They're struggling a little bit. I'm getting some beautiful blooms, but I do believe I'm going to have to make a mixture of Dawn soap. There's a mixture out there for aphids, because I believe the aphids are really doing a number on my roses. I actually wish I could get some ladybugs and bring them in, but I just haven't done that. So I'll probably mix up a solution and try to spray those down probably before I go to bed, because if you will spray things that need attended to the night before, that's better, because then the bees have all gone to bed and they're not going to hopefully be out this late when things start getting a little darker. Good morning, y'all. So one thing that I did not mention last night was that I have a bed in my cottage garden. And you know, I told you the story about my grandmother who put a boat in her yard and made a garden bed around it. Well, I had seen a few eclectic gardens, and that's kind of what I call mine. I do refer to it as a cottage garden, but it's very eclectic and very different. And I had saw where someone took an old bed and made a garden bed out of it, and I just loved the idea of it. The whimsy, it was just so fun. So I had been keeping that. You can hear the babies this morning. I'm about to go milk and put the mamas back with the babies, but I wanted to tell you this story real quick. So I had the idea of putting a bed in I planned to put it in my garden, but I had yet to find the bed that I wanted. So I looked around Facebook Marketplace, different places, and they were pricey. And all I wanted was a wrought iron bed. Didn't really care what shape it was in. It didn't matter to me. I didn't care what shape it was in. I just wanted a wrought iron bed. So, I looked around for a long, long time and could not find anything that was free or almost free. And that's, I didn't want to put a lot of money into it, because I knew it was, something that I would end up having to fill and build a bed to go inside it. And so I wanted to keep the cost minimal. Well, I can't remember where I was going, probably the feed store. And while I was out, I saw this old brass bed on the side of a road. And basically around here, if you see things that are on the side of the road, that means, hey, I'm getting rid of it. You can have it if you want it. And I thought, that bed's perfect. It was a twin. I knew I really didn't want anything bigger than a twin. So I actually saw the people outside, and I hollered and I said, you good with me taking this? They were like, have at it. And I was like, perfect. So I start loading it in my vehicle. Now, we drive a Suburban now, but at this time, this was quite a few years ago, I had this little bitty Buick Rendezvous that was small. So I laid the seats down and I put it in there as good as I could. But again, it was a small vehicle and it wouldn't fit. So I put as much in the back as I could. I left the back hatch open, but still I could not get the headboard in the car. Now we live in a rural area, and it wasn't that far home. So I started thinking, and I was like, probably not the best idea, but I really want to get this home, and I don't want to have to ask my family to help me, because sometimes I do have to ask them and I hate to. So I just said, okay, I'm gonna get her done. So I take the headboard and I prop it up under my arm with my door open. My hatch is open, my door is open, and I prop this thing under my arm with my driver's side door. My driver's side door is open. It's under my arm, and I've got my leg kind of propping it with on the side, and it's fairly secure. So I'm driving with my right hand, pushing the pedals with my right foot, and we get home with the bed. And I was so stinking tickled, because I just, of course, when I get home and I tell Shannon about it later, he just shakes his head. But I am just so stubborn, and if I can handle it myself, I want to do it myself. There are some things I have to ask for help for, and so this was just one of those things where I wanted to handle it. Anyways, the bed laid by our garage for years because I couldn't figure out where I wanted it, and I couldn't figure out, what I wanted to put in it. So after I built the cottage garden a few years ago, the bed was still laying there, and I'd look at it and I think, and finally I decided, what if I just put it on the edge of the cottage garden and plant in it as well, and put some, some herbs and some flowers and maybe some things that'll trellis up the sides of it. And I was like, that's it. So last I guess it was spring, we put the bed together. My stepdad came and helped me build the bed. I filled it with lots of old sticks and branches and compost and whatnot before I put the soil on the top. And it was such a fun piece to add to the garden, because I love interest. I love quirky things. My grandma had the the boat in her yard. This mama has a bed in her yard. And I love the idea that my grandkids will remember this, my kids will remember this, and one day, long after I'm gone, they'll talk about how I had a bed in my yard filled with flowers and herbs and all sorts of, no kitty, sorry, she's wanting some attention, all sorts of things. But right now I have a clematis growing at the foot and at the head, and then I have hummingbird feeder. I want to get another hummingbird feeder beside it, and I need to fill that. And then I've got some garden sage that overwintered and is growing again, and I have a few things that have popped up but the chickens have dug up. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But my plan is to have plenty of herbs and then also fill it with zinnias, so that the butterflies and the hummingbirds and everything will just really flock to the area. But I just wanted to let y'all know that you can look and you can read, and there are so many things that tell you you have to do this, you have to do that to make a beautiful space. And I want to challenge that. I think you can add whatever you like and make a beautiful space. It does not have to fit a design. It does not have to fit a blueprint. You do what you feel is beautiful. And because it reflects who you are as a person, people will appreciate that and enjoy it as well. So that's my 2 cents on how to make a cottage garden in your yard. And I hope you take some encouragement from this and create something lovely. And if you do, I'd love to see it. So tag me, and I hope you have the best day. Thanks for coming by. Bye-bye.